The ancient hall breathes with 1,000 years of history, its stone walls bearing witness to ceremonies that have shaped the fate of packs since time immemorial. Tonight, these walls will bear witness once more. The air hangs thick with expectation, heavy with the scent of ceremonial herbs and the barely concealed anxiety of young women who stand in perfect formation, their lives about to be irrevocably altered by the choices of powerful men. Before I walk you through this pack story, tell me your name, the city you're watching from, and what time it is for you. I stand among them, but I am not of them. My name is Amara, and I am the anomaly in this carefully curated display of feminine perfection. Where there are willows swaying in the breeze, I am the oak, solid, unmovable, taking up space that polite society would prefer I diminish. My dress, carefully selected by my mother's trembling hands just this morning, strains against the reality of my body. Each seam is a whispered accusation, each pull of fabric a reminder that I do not belong here, that my presence among these delicate creatures is somehow an affront to the natural order of things. The other brides stand like porcelain dolls arranged in a collector's case. Sophia, with her swan-like neck and movements so graceful they seem choreographed by the gods themselves. Clara, whose laughter tinkles like wind chimes and whose smile could charm the stars from the sky. Helena, brilliant and poised, her intelligence evident in every measured glance, every calculated gesture. They are everything I am not, ethereal, fragile, perfect according to the rigid standards our world has constructed. And then there is me. I can feel the weight of judgment pressing against my skin like a physical force. It emanates from the elders seated in their high-backed chairs, their ancient eyes cataloging my imperfections with clinical precision. It radiates from the other families, their daughters presented like offerings to the gods, each one a testament to careful breeding and meticulous preparation. Even my own mother, standing somewhere in the crowd behind me, carries that judgment in her very bones. I felt it this morning as she laced me into this dress, her fingers fumbling with the stays, her whispered prayers for a miracle mingling with barely concealed disappointment. "Please, Amara," she had begged, her voice cracking with desperation, "just try to appear smaller. Stand differently. Hold yourself in. Perhaps if you don't draw attention. But how does one make oneself invisible when one's very existence is considered an aberration?" My grandmother's voice echoes through my memory, a lifeline in this sea of condemnation. She was the only one who ever looked at me and saw something beyond the flesh that houses my spirit. "True worth, my darling girl," she would say, her weathered hands cupping my face with infinite tenderness, "is found in the heart, not in the shallow reflections others see when they look upon you. The heart is where your strength resides, where your power waits to be claimed. Never forget that." I cling to those words now as the ceremony begins, as the ancient rites unfold with their prescribed formality, as my future hangs in the balance of choices I have no power to influence. The massive oak doors at the far end of the hall groan open, and the very air itself seems to shift, charged with an energy that makes the hair on my arms stand on end. The whispered conversations that had filled the spaces between formal pronouncements die instantly, snuffed out like candle flames in a sudden wind. King Damon of the Forest Pack enters, and the world holds its breath. He is everything the legends promised, and more. Tall enough that he must duck slightly beneath the ancient archway, his frame carries the kind of power that comes not from mere physical strength, but from an innate authority that cannot be taught or learned. It simply is. His presence fills the hall like water flooding into a vessel, claiming every corner, every shadow. The muscles beneath his formal attire speak of countless battles fought and won, of a body honed into a weapon through decades of warfare and survival. His dark hair falls past his shoulders, wild and untamed despite the formality of the occasion, as if even his hair refuses to be subdued by convention. But it is his eyes that hold me captive. They are the color of amber catching firelight, ancient and knowing, carrying within them the weight of responsibilities that would crush lesser men. As he strides down the center aisle, those eyes sweep across the assembled brides with an intensity that makes each woman straighten, preen, and attempt to catch his attention. I tell myself to look away, to spare myself the humiliation of hoping, but I cannot. Something in me, some deep and primal part of my being that exists beyond conscious thought, cannot tear its gaze from him. The ceremony master, his voice quavering slightly with the gravity of the moment, begins the formal introductions. One by one, the brides are presented, each stepping forward into the circle of firelight that marks the presentation space. The protocol is ancient and unchanging. Each woman states her name, her lineage, her accomplishments. Each is given her moment to shine before the most powerful unmated alpha in our territory. Sophia steps forward first, her movements fluid as water. The light catches in her golden hair, creating a halo effect that seems almost deliberately orchestrated by fate itself. She speaks of her family's diplomatic achievements, of her training in the healing arts, of her ability to speak 5 languages fluently. King Damon nods, respectful but unmoved. She is perfection, and he acknowledges it the way one might acknowledge a beautiful painting, with appreciation but no personal connection. Clara follows, and she deploys her considerable charm like a weapon, her smile radiant, her words honeyed and sweet. She speaks of her family's wealth, of the alliances her hand in marriage would bring, of her skill in running a household befitting a king. Again, Damon nods, polite but distant. The firelight dances in his eyes, but they remain cool, assessing, waiting for something these perfect specimens are not providing. Helena approaches with confidence born of intelligence and accomplishment. She speaks of strategy and warfare, of economic theories and political alliances. She is brilliant and she knows it. Her presentation is a masterwork of calculated appeal to a king who must think beyond mere beauty to the practical needs of ruling. Yet still, those amber eyes remain unsatisfied, searching for something that none of these magnificent women possess. One by one they are presented and found wanting. Not because they are insufficient, they are all exceptional in their own ways, but because they are not what he seeks. I can see it in the set of his shoulders, in the slight tension around his mouth. He is going through the motions of a ritual that thus far has yielded nothing of substance. And then it is my turn. My heart thunders against my ribs like a caged bird desperate for freedom as I step forward into the circle of firelight. I can hear the subtle shift in the room's energy, feel the weight of surprise and barely concealed disdain as I take my place before the king. This is not what anyone expected. My mother's gasp is audible even from her position in the crowd. The other families murmur among themselves, their shock palpable. I force myself to stand straight, to meet this moment with whatever dignity I can muster. My grandmother's words echo through my mind like a prayer. The heart is where your strength resides. I open my mouth to speak my practiced introduction, the words I have rehearsed 1,000 times, the careful presentation of my meager accomplishments that pale in comparison to the goddesses who preceded me. But before I can utter a single syllable, something impossible happens. King Damon's entire demeanor transforms. His nostrils flare as if catching a scent on the wind, his body going utterly still in that way predators do when they've spotted their prey. Those amber eyes, which had remained coolly distant for every other presentation, suddenly blaze with an intensity that steals the breath from my lungs. He stares at me, not through me, not past me, but at me into me, as if he can see straight through flesh and bone to the very essence of my being. The hall falls into a silence, so complete I can hear the crackling of the ceremonial fires, the whisper of my own blood rushing through my veins. And then he speaks, his voice carrying effortlessly through the vast space, each word falling like a stone into still water, creating ripples that will change everything. I want the fat one. Time stops. The universe itself seems to pause in its rotation, holding its breath at the audacity of what has just been uttered. My mind cannot process the words, cannot reconcile them with reality. Surely I misheard. Surely this is some cruel jest, some test of my character to see how I will respond to public humiliation. But King Damon is moving toward me, his powerful strides eating up the distance between us with purposeful intent. His hand rises, one long finger pointing directly at me, leaving no room for ambiguity, no possibility of misunderstanding. Her, he says again, his voice resonating with absolute certainty.
Amara.
She is the one. The gasps that ripple through the assembled crowd sound like a sudden wind through dry leaves. I hear my mother's sob of shock, whether from joy or mortification. I cannot tell. I see Elder Thorne half rise from his seat, his face contorted with disbelief and poorly concealed outrage. The other brides stand frozen in various states of confusion and offense, their perfect faces struggling to comprehend how the natural order of things has been so thoroughly upended. And I am drowning in disbelief, my thoughts fragmenting into 1,000 pieces that refuse to coalesce into coherent understanding. This cannot be happening. Kings do not choose women like me. Power mates with beauty, strength with grace. This is the way of our world, the unspoken law that governs all unions of consequence. Yet here stands King Damon, the most powerful alpha in the territory, claiming me as his choice before gods and witnesses. He reaches me now, standing so close I can feel the heat radiating from his body, can smell the scent of pine and earth and something wild that makes my wolf stir deep within me in a way she has never stirred before. His eyes, those magnificent amber eyes, bore into mine with an intensity that should frighten me, but instead fills me with a strange, unexpected sense of rightness. "Do you accept?" he asks, his voice low and meant only for my ears, though in this silence every word carries to the farthest corners of the hall. My mouth opens and closes soundlessly. Accept what? His choice? His claim? The complete upheaval of everything I thought I understood about my place in this world? He waits with the patience of mountains, giving me the space to find my voice, to make my choice. Because that is what this is, I realize with sudden clarity. He is giving me a choice. He could simply declare it, could claim me by right of his position and power, but instead he stands before me asking for my consent, treating me with a respect I have never been granted by anyone outside my grandmother's presence. My voice cracks, fails, tries again. I don't understand. Why would you? How could you? Because you are mine, he says simply, and the absolute conviction in those 3 words shakes me to my core. Because from the moment I entered this hall, before I even saw you, I caught your scent and knew. Because my wolf recognized your wolf, and this connection we share is not something that can be explained to those who do not feel it. It is primal, ancient, and undeniable. He extends his hand to me, palm up, an invitation rather than a command. The question is not why I would choose you, Amara. The question is whether you have the courage to choose me in return, to claim what is yours by right of fate and destiny, regardless of what others may think or say. I stare at his outstretched hand as if it were a bridge spanning an impossible chasm. To take it is to step into a future I never imagined, never dared to dream possible. It is to claim a place I was taught I could never occupy, to accept a gift I was conditioned to believe I did not deserve. But somewhere deep within me, in that place where truth resides beyond the reach of societal conditioning and learned self-loathing, something awakens. My wolf, who has always been quiet, subdued by years of rejection and diminishment, suddenly surges to the surface with a force that nearly drives me to my knees. She knows him. She has always known him, has been waiting her entire existence for this moment, for this male who sees us not as we appear to others, but as we truly are. My hand trembles as I raise it, and when my fingers touch his, the world explodes into sensation. The bond, for that is what this is, I understand now with crystalline clarity, snaps into place like a key turning in a lock that has waited centuries to be opened. Energy cascades through me, a river of power and recognition and belonging that threatens to overwhelm my senses entirely. I can feel him, feel his strength and his certainty, his absolute conviction that this is right, that we are right. And beneath it all, I feel something I never expected to feel from someone who barely knows me. Respect. Genuine, profound respect for who I am, not despite my differences, but including them, accepting them as part of the whole that makes me uniquely myself. Yes, I whisper. the word barely audible even to my own ears. Then, stronger, infused with a growing confidence that seems to flow from our joined hands. Yes, I accept. The smile that spreads across King Darian's face transforms him from intimidating monarch to something almost boyish, a flash of pure joy that makes my heart stutter in my chest. He lifts our joined hands, turning to face the assembled crowd, and his voice rings out with undeniable authority. Bear witness. I, Darian, King of the Forest Pack, have chosen my mate. Amara of the Mountain Pack is mine, as I am hers. This bond is recognized by the ancient wolf spirit, blessed by fate itself. Any who would question this choice questions the very laws that govern our kind. Elder Thorn finds his voice, rising from his seat with the indignation of one whose carefully ordered world has been thrown into chaos. Your Majesty, with all due respect, this is highly irregular. The woman is not of appropriate, that is to say, she lacks the necessary. Surely you cannot mean to. I can, Darian interrupts, his voice taking on an edge that makes even the elder recoil slightly. And I do. Are you suggesting, elder, that you know better than the wolf spirit itself? That you have the authority to override a true mate bond, one of the rarest and most sacred connections our kind can experience? The elder sputters, his face reddening, but he has no answer. Because to deny the legitimacy of a true mate bond is to deny the very foundation of our beliefs, the spiritual core around which our entire society is built. Darian's gaze sweeps the room, challenging anyone else to voice objection. The silence that follows is heavy with unspoken thoughts, with judgments and prejudices that cannot be openly expressed in the face of such a direct challenge to their validity. The ceremony is concluded, Darian announces. Prepare for our departure at dawn. My mate and I have much to discuss. The journey through the forest to the sacred moon spring is unlike anything I have ever experienced. Darian leads the way with the confidence of one who knows these woods as intimately as he knows his own body, and I follow, still reeling from the events of the evening, still struggling to believe that this is real and not some elaborate dream from which I will shortly awaken. The full moon overhead casts silver light through the canopy, creating patterns of shadow and illumination that transform the familiar forest into something mystical and strange. We travel in silence, but it is not an uncomfortable silence. Rather, it feels like the quiet of two souls who are learning to exist in each other's presence, discovering the rhythm of their shared space. Finally, we emerge into a clearing, and I gasp at the sight before me. The moon spring is exactly as the ancient stories described it, a pool of water so clear it appears almost liquid starlight, surrounded by stones carved with symbols older than memory. The moon's reflection on the water's surface is so perfect it creates the illusion of two moons, one above and one below, with us standing at the threshold between worlds. This is where the first of our kind received the blessing of the wolf spirit, Darian says softly, his voice filled with reverence. This is where true mates come to confirm their bond, to see the vision of their shared future. I turn to him, questions tumbling through my mind. I still don't understand. How can you be so certain? We've only just met. You know nothing about me beyond my name, and I know everything I need to know, he interrupts gently. I know the strength I felt in your spirit when you stood before me. I know the courage it took to accept my hand despite your fear and confusion. I know the scent of your soul, Amara, and it calls to mine in a way nothing and no one ever has. He takes both my hands in his amber eyes reflecting the moonlight until they seem to glow with their own internal fire. But I understand your doubt. You have spent your life being told you are less than, being measured against impossible standards, and found wanting. So, I will not ask you to simply trust my word. Instead, I ask you to trust the moon spring. Come with me into the water, and we will see what the spirits reveal. My heart pounds with a mixture of fear and anticipation as he leads me to the edge of the sacred pool. The water is warm when we step in, impossibly so given the cool night air. It rises to our waists, and Darian positions us facing each other, our hands still joined. Close your eyes, he instructs. Open your mind to the vision. I do as he asks, letting my eyes drift closed, trying to quiet the anxious chattering of my thoughts. For a long moment, nothing happens. Then, slowly, I begin to feel something, a gentle pull, like invisible threads connecting my consciousness to his, weaving us together into a tapestry I cannot yet see. And then the vision comes. I see us standing together on a high precipice overlooking lands that stretch to the horizon. But we are changed. I am changed. Not in body. I am still myself, still carrying the weight that others find so objectionable, but in bearing and confidence, in the way I hold myself. I stand as an equal beside this powerful king, and there is no question in anyone's mind, including my own, that I belong there. I see myself moving through a great hall, and people defer to me not out of fear, but out of genuine respect. I am tending to the wounded, my hands glowing with a healing light I did not know I possessed. I am mediating disputes with wisdom that seems to flow from some deep well within me. I am standing before assembled packs, my voice carrying authority and compassion in equal measure. And always, Darian is there beside me. Not in front of me, not behind me, but beside me, his strength complementing mine, his warrior nature finding balance in my healing spirit. Together we are more than the sum of our parts. Together we are whole in a way neither of us could ever be alone. The vision shifts, and I see children, our children, playing in a courtyard. They are beautiful, each one unique, each one perfect in their imperfection. I see a world where the old prejudices have begun to crumble, where worth is measured not by appearance but by character, by contribution, by the content of one's heart. I see battles fought side by side, our combined strength turning the tide against those who would threaten our people. I see quiet moments of intimacy, of shared laughter and whispered confidences in the darkness. I see a love that grows deeper with each passing season, that weathers storms and celebrates victories, that remains constant even as everything else changes. But most importantly, I see myself loved. Completely, unreservedly, unconditionally loved for exactly who I am. And in being so loved, I see myself learning to love in return, not just Darian, but myself, accepting and even celebrating the body I have spent so long hating. When the vision fades and I open my eyes, I find tears streaming down my face. Darian's eyes are also bright with unshed tears, and I know without asking that he has seen what I have seen, that we have shared this glimpse of our possible future. "Do you understand now?" he asks, his voice rough with emotion. "This is why I knew. This is why I was so certain. The spirits have been showing me pieces of this vision for months, but I did not know who you were until I saw you. Until I scented you. Until every cell in my body recognized you as the missing piece of my soul. I cannot speak past the lump in my throat, so I simply nod, letting the tears fall freely now. For the first time in my life, I feel seen. Truly, completely seen. Not as the disappointing daughter who failed to meet expectations, not as the awkward girl who takes up too much space, but as Amara, healer, queen, partner, mate. Darian draws me close, his arms wrapping around me with a gentleness that belies his immense strength. And standing there in the sacred waters of the moon spring, held in the embrace of this magnificent male who chose me against all logic and convention, I finally begin to believe that perhaps my grandmother was right. Perhaps true worth really is found in the heart. Perhaps I have always been enough, and it is the world that was wrong, not me. The journey back to the hall is markedly different from our journey to the moon spring, where before I was quiet with uncertainty and disbelief. Now I find myself engaged in conversation with Darian, sharing pieces of my life, my dreams, my fears. He listens with an attention that makes me feel as though every word I speak is precious, worthy of consideration and respect. He tells me about his pack, about the responsibilities that weigh on him, about the loneliness of leadership when one has no partner with whom to share the burden. He speaks of his hope that our union will not just satisfy personal need, but will forge stronger bonds between our packs, creating alliances that will benefit both our peoples. But as we near the hall, I notice a change in his demeanor. His body language shifts, becoming more alert, more guarded. His eyes scan the shadows with the wariness of one expecting trouble. What is it? I ask, my own senses suddenly on high alert. My cousin Cain, Darian says quietly. He was notably absent from the ceremony tonight. That absence troubles me. Why would your own cousin avoid such an important event? Darian's expression darkens. Because Cain has always believed that he should be king. He is older than me by 3 years, and he has never forgiven fate for choosing my father's line to rule rather than his. Every decision I make, he questions. Every choice I make, he undermines. And this choice, claiming you as my mate, will infuriate him beyond measure. A chill runs down my spine. Because of who I am. No, Darian says firmly, stopping to face me fully. Because of who you are to me. Because in you, he will see my strength rather than my weakness, and that terrifies him. A king without a mate is vulnerable in ways a bonded king is not. He was counting on me to remain alone, isolated, easier to challenge. But now. He trails off, but I understand what he is not saying. Now that I am here, now that we are bonded, the dynamics of power have shifted in ways that will not please those who have been waiting for an opportunity to seize control. We return to find the hall in a state of controlled chaos. My mother finds me immediately, her face a war between joy and terror. She embraces me so tightly I can barely breathe, whispering frantically about how blessed I am, how careful I must be, how dangerous this new position will be. And she is right to be afraid, I realize, as I catch sight of a tall figure watching from the shadows. Cain. I have never met him, but I know him instantly by the resemblance he bears to Darian. The same strong jaw, the same powerful build, and by the cold calculation in his eyes as they assess me. He does not approach, does not speak, but his presence is a threat nonetheless. I can feel it in the way the air seems to thicken when his gaze falls upon me, in the slight smirk that plays at the corners of his mouth, as if he knows something we do not. Darian sees him too, and I feel the tension coil in his body, like a snake preparing to strike. But he does not confront his cousin. Not here, not now. Instead, he places a possessive hand on the small of my back and guides me toward the private chambers that have been prepared for us. He will try to come between us, Darian warns as we walk. He will use every tool at his disposal, rumor, innuendo, outright lies. He will try to make you doubt yourself, doubt me, doubt the validity of our bond. You must be prepared for this. I am stronger than I look, I tell him, surprised by the conviction in my own voice. He smiles, and there is pride in that smile that makes my heart soar. I know you are. That is why I chose you. Well, that and because fate chose you for me first. The following days pass in a blur of preparation and protocol. There are rituals to be observed, ceremonies to attend, countless formalities that must be honored before our bonding can be officially recognized by both packs. Through it all, I am acutely aware of the scrutiny I am under. Every move I make is watched, analyzed, judged by those who still cannot believe that someone like me could possibly be chosen as queen. Elder Thorn is particularly cold, his disapproval radiating from him like winter frost whenever I enter his presence. He never speaks directly against me. To do so would be to question King Darian's judgment, but his silence is more damning than words. I can see in his eyes that he considers me a temporary aberration, something to be endured until Darian comes to his senses and chooses more appropriately. But it is Cain who truly unsettles me. He has emerged from whatever shadows he was lurking in and now makes a point of being present at every gathering, every meeting. He is unfailingly polite, his words carefully chosen to never quite cross the line into open disrespect, but there is something in his manner that sets my teeth on edge. "Cousin," he says to Darian one evening as we gather for formal dinner, "I must congratulate you on your unique choice. So refreshing to see someone willing to look past convention." The words sound complimentary, but they carry an undertone that makes them feel like an insult. Darian's hand tightens imperceptibly on his wine glass, but his expression remains neutral. "I chose my true mate," he says evenly. There is nothing unconventional about honoring a bond recognized by the spirits themselves. Of course, Kane agrees smoothly. Though I wonder if the other packs will see it quite so spiritually. Politics, after all, is a realm of practical considerations, and your queen will need to navigate those waters carefully. He turns to me with a smile that does not reach his eyes. I hope you are prepared for the challenges ahead, Lady Amara. Being queen requires a certain fortitude, a certain ability to command respect and authority. I'm sure you'll adapt, given time. Before I can respond, before Darian can come to my defense, another voice cuts through the tension. She will do more than adapt. We all turn to see Elder Moira, the oldest of the council members, rising from her seat. She is ancient, her face a map of wrinkles earned through a century of life, but her eyes are sharp and clear. I have seen the Moonspring's blessing upon this union, she continues, her voice carrying despite its frailty. I have felt the rightness of it in my bones. Those who question it question not just the king's judgment, but the will of the spirits themselves. And I, for one, will not be party to such blasphemy. The room falls silent. Elder Moira's word carries immense weight, and her public endorsement shifts the political landscape in an instant. I see calculation flicker across Kane's face before he schools his expression back to neutrality. I meant no disrespect, Elder, he says, bowing his head in deference. I merely wish to express my concern for my cousin's well-being and that of his future queen. Your concern is noted, Darian says coldly, and unnecessary. Now, if we might move on to matters of actual importance. The dinner continues, but the tension remains, a living thing that coils through the hall like invisible smoke. I catch Kane watching me several times throughout the meal, his expression thoughtful in a way that makes me deeply uneasy. He is planning something. I can feel it with the same certainty I felt when the bond with Darian snapped into place. I am proven right sooner than I expected. 3 nights later, I am awakened by sounds of commotion in the courtyard below our chambers. Darian is instantly alert, moving to the window with the fluid grace of a predator. What he sees makes him curse violently. Stay here, he commands, already moving toward the door. But I do not stay. Something, instinct, intuition, the stirring of powers I am only beginning to understand, drives me to follow him. By the time I reach the courtyard, a crowd has gathered around a fallen guard. The man is bleeding heavily from a wound to his side, and the metallic scent of blood fills the night air. What happened? Darian demands, kneeling beside the injured man. Attacked from behind, the guard gasps. Didn't see, didn't hear. I push through the crowd, ignoring the shocked whispers at my presence. Something about this scene is wrong, and I need to see it clearly to understand what. As I approach the fallen guard, I notice details others seem to have missed. The angle of the wound, the lack of defensive injuries, the placement of the blood spatter on the ground. This was not a random attack, I say, my voice cutting through the murmured speculation. All eyes turn to me. Darian looks up from where he crouches beside the guard, his expression questioning. Look at the wound, I continue, kneeling beside them. It's precise, calculated. This was done by someone with skill, not in the heat of battle, but as a deliberate strike. And there, I point to the blood pattern on the ground. The spatter suggests the attacker struck from the front, not behind as the guard claims. He knew his attacker. He trusted them enough to let them get close. The guard's eyes widen, and I see guilt flash across his face before he can hide it. Darian sees it too, and his expression hardens. Who put you up to this? He demands. The guard's mouth opens and closes, fear and loyalty warring across his features. Finally, loyalty wins out, and he presses his lips together in stubborn silence. It doesn't matter, comes a voice from the edge of the crowd. Kane steps forward, his expression a mask of concern that doesn't quite reach his eyes. What matters is that we have a security breach. Clearly, the merging of our packs has created vulnerabilities that our enemies are exploiting. What enemies? I ask, rising to my feet. This attack was staged. Can't you see that? Someone wanted it to look like an external threat when it's actually an internal one. Kane's eyes narrow fractionally. That's quite an accusation, Lady Amara. I wonder what evidence you have to support such a serious claim? I meet his gaze steadily, refusing to be intimidated. The evidence is right here, in the staging of the scene. Someone who wanted to create fear, to undermine confidence in the alliance between our packs. Someone who would benefit from division and doubt. Someone like you, perhaps? Kane suggests, his voice silky smooth. After all, what better way to appear valuable to the king than to solve a crisis of your own making? Gasps ripple through the crowd. Darian surges to his feet, his face a mask of fury, but I place a hand on his arm, stopping him. Or someone like you, I say calmly to Kane, who has made no secret of his opposition to this union, who sees me as a threat to his own ambitions, who would do anything to prove that I am unworthy of being queen. The tension crackles between us like lightning about to strike. Kane's mask slips for just a moment, and I see the raw hatred beneath it, the jealousy and rage that has been building since the moment Darian chose me. Careful, cousin, Darian says softly, his voice deadly calm. You are dangerously close to a line you do not want to cross. Kane recovers quickly, his expression smoothing back into concerned neutrality. I apologize if my words gave offense. I am merely trying to ensure all possibilities are explored. For the safety of the pack, you understand. What I understand, Darian says, is that someone is playing dangerous games with the security of this pack, and I will find out who. When I do, they will face the full consequences of their actions, regardless of who they are. The warning is clear, and Kane is smart enough to recognize it. He bows stiffly and retreats, but not before throwing one last venomous glance in my direction. As the crowd disperses and healers take charge of the injured guard, Darian pulls me aside. That was dangerous, he says, but there is admiration in his voice. You've made an enemy tonight. I think I made that enemy the moment you chose me, I reply. All I've done is refuse to pretend I don't see what he's doing. Darian's hand comes up to cup my face with infinite gentleness. You see much, my mate. More than anyone else seems to. That insight will serve us well in the days to come. But it also makes you a target. Kane will not forget this. I'm not afraid of him. I know. But I am afraid for you. Promise me you'll be careful. Promise me you won't take unnecessary risks. I lean into his touch, drawing strength from the bond that connects us. I promise I'll be as careful as I can be while still doing what needs to be done. It's not the promise he wanted, but it's the only one I can honestly give. The first of the official courtship rituals arrives with much ceremony and anticipation. The mind bond ceremony is designed to test the intellectual compatibility of potential mates, to ensure that they can work together in harmony even without direct communication. It is an ancient rite, one that has decided the fate of countless unions throughout our history. The ceremonial chamber has been prepared according to tradition, its walls hung with tapestries depicting the great partnerships of our past. In the center of the room sits an elaborate puzzle, carved from dark wood and inlaid with precious metals. It is a thing of beauty and complexity, representing the challenges that any ruling pair must face together. Elder Thorn presides over the ceremony, his disapproval evident in every line of his body as he explains the rules. Darian and I will each approach the puzzle from opposite sides. We cannot speak, cannot gesture, cannot communicate in any conventional way. We must simply work together, trusting in our bond to guide us to the solution. This ritual, Thorn intones, his voice heavy with skepticism, reveals the true nature of a pairing. Strength and beauty may attract the eye, but it is the meeting of minds that sustains a partnership through the trials of leadership. Many who appeared perfectly matched have failed this test. Let us see if fate's choice proves wiser than tradition. The subtle jab is not lost on anyone, but I refuse to let it shake my confidence. I take my position at one side of the puzzle while Darian takes the other. Our eyes meet across the intricate design, and I feel the bond between us hum with energy. The ritual begins. At first, the puzzle seems impossibly complex, a maze of interlocking pieces that need to be moved in perfect sequence to achieve the final configuration. I place my hands on the first piece I'm drawn to, feeling its weight, its possibilities. And somehow, without words, I know that Darian is doing the same on his side. I move a piece. Darian moves one in response. The movements feel almost like a dance, a conversation conducted in the language of intuition and trust. When I hesitate over a particular configuration, uncertain whether to proceed, I feel a gentle pulse through the bond. Encouragement, agreement. I make the move, and it is correct. Time seems to lose meaning as we work. The puzzle is a metaphor for everything we will face together, complex, requiring both individual skill and unified purpose, demanding trust when logic fails. And we are solving it piece by piece, our movements growing more synchronized with each passing moment. I can sense Darian's thought processes through the bond, not as specific words but as feelings, impressions, understandings. When he encounters an obstacle on his side, I instinctively adjust my own approach to compensate. When I make a move that opens up new possibilities, I feel his surge of comprehension and approval. The observers are completely silent now, watching with something approaching awe as the puzzle begins to take its final shape. Even Elder Thorn has fallen quiet, his skepticism giving way to grudging fascination. With one final, perfectly coordinated movement, Darian and I complete the puzzle. The pieces lock into place with an audible click, and the whole structure suddenly illuminates from within, ancient magic responding to the successful completion of the trial. The glow bathes us both in golden light, and through it, I see Darian smiling at me with such pride and affection that my heart feels too large for my chest. We did it. Together. Without words. Without doubt. Exactly as we were meant to. Elder Thorn clears his throat, clearly struggling with what he has just witnessed. The ritual is complete, he announces, his voice lacking its earlier condescension. The bond is confirmed as mentally sound and intellectually compatible. He pauses, and when he continues, there's a grudging respect in his tone that wasn't there before. I confess, I did not expect such seamless coordination. It is rare to see a pairing work together with such innate understanding. Perhaps, I say quietly, finding my voice at last, it is time to question whether our expectations are based on wisdom or merely on prejudice. Strength comes in many forms, Elder Thorn. Sometimes the greatest power lies not in conforming to what we think we should be, but in embracing what we are. The words hang in the air, a challenge and a truth spoken with a confidence that surprises even me. I see acknowledgement flicker in the elder's eyes, a crack in his armor of traditional belief. Darian crosses to my side, taking my hand in his, presenting us as the unified force we have just proven ourselves to be. My mate speaks truth, he says. And it is a truth that will reshape this pack, whether those who cling to old prejudices are ready for it or not. The success of the Mind Bond ceremony shifts something in the political landscape of the pack. I can feel it in the way people look at me now, still with curiosity, still with some lingering skepticism, but also with a growing respect. I have proven myself in a way that cannot be easily dismissed or explained away. But this shift in perception only makes Kane more dangerous. I feel it in the way he watches me now, his hatred no longer carefully masked but burning openly in his eyes when he thinks no one else is looking. He has moved past scheming in shadows and is approaching the point of desperate action. The warning comes from an unexpected source. Elder Moira finds me alone in the garden 3 days after the ceremony. She moves slowly, leaning heavily on her walking staff, but her mind is as sharp as ever. "Walk with me, child," she says, and it is not a request. We move through the garden in silence for a time, and I wait patiently for her to speak. When she does, her words send a chill down my spine. "Kane will move against you soon," she says without preamble. "He cannot allow you to succeed in the remaining rituals. Your success diminishes his position with every passing day, and he grows desperate. Desperate men do desperate things." "I know," I reply quietly. "I can feel it." "Can you feel what he plans?" I pause, reaching inward to that place where my newly awakened powers reside. Since the moon spring, since the bonding ceremony, I have felt changes in myself, an increased sensitivity to the intentions of others, an ability to read situations that goes beyond normal perception. He will try to physically harm me, I say, the knowledge crystallizing as I speak it. During the next ritual, when focus is elsewhere, when guards are positioned according to ceremony rather than practical defense, he will make it look like an accident or like an attack from an external enemy. Elder Moira nods grimly. Your sight grows stronger. Yes, that is what I have foreseen as well. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Tell Darian.
Prepare.
Ensure.
No.
The word stops me cold. I turn to look at the ancient woman, confusion written across my face. If you tell the king, she explains, he will confront Cain directly. And Cain is his cousin, his blood. Such a confrontation could fracture the pack at a time when we can least afford division. No, child. This is your battle to fight, your test to pass. You must survive Cain's attempt on your own, must prove yourself not just worthy, but capable of defending your position. Only then will the pack truly accept you as their queen. You're asking me to let him attack me. I'm asking you to be ready when he does. There is a difference. Her gnarled hand grips my arm with surprising strength. You are stronger than you know, Amara. You have powers within you that have barely begun to manifest. Trust in them. Trust in yourself. And when the moment comes, do what must be done. She leaves me then, disappearing back into the depths of the garden, leaving me alone with the weight of her words and the knowledge of what is coming. The second courtship ritual is the trial of courage, designed to test whether a potential queen can face danger with grace and strength. Traditionally, it involves a symbolic journey through the old forest, facing challenges that represent the various threats a ruler might encounter. It is carefully choreographed, safe in its dangers, meant to assess character rather than to pose real risk. But I know, with the certainty of prophecy, that this ritual will be different. The morning dawns cold and clear, and I dress in the ceremonial garments provided, sturdy but elegant, designed for movement through the forest. Darian finds me as I prepare to leave, his expression troubled. Something feels wrong about today, he says, his warrior's instincts alerting him to a danger he cannot name. I want to assign additional guards to accompany you. The ritual forbids it. I remind him gently. I must walk this path alone, as all potential queens before me have done. Damn the ritual. Your safety is more important. I take his face in my hands, drawing him down so our foreheads touch. I will be safe. Trust in our bond. If I am in true danger, you will feel it, and you will come. But I must do this, Darian. I must prove to your pack, to myself, that I am worthy of the crown I am being offered. He wants to argue further. I can feel it through the bond, but he respects my choice. He kisses me, long and deep, pouring all his concern and love into the contact. Be careful, he whispers against my lips. Come back to me. Always, I promise. The ritual path leads deep into the old forest, following markers left by countless generations of those who have walked this way before. The first challenges are exactly as tradition prescribes: a river to cross, a steep cliff to climb, a dark cave to navigate. Each one tests different aspects of courage and resourcefulness, and I pass through them with growing confidence. It is as I emerge from the cave into a small clearing that I feel the shift in the air, the prickling awareness that I am no longer alone. Well done, cousin. I spin to find Cain standing at the edge of the clearing, and my heart begins to pound. He should not be here. The ritual requires absolute solitude, and his presence is a violation of sacred law. You shouldn't be here, I say, keeping my voice steady despite my racing pulse. No, he agrees, a cold smile playing on his lips. But then many things that shouldn't be are. Like you wearing the crown that should have been mine. He steps closer, and I see the madness in his eyes, the jealousy that has festered into something dangerous and unstable. It was supposed to be me, he continues, his voice rising. I was supposed to be king. But no, fate chose his father's line instead of mine. And I accepted it. I bowed. I served. I waited for my chance, knowing that one day, Darian would make a mistake, would show weakness, would give me the opening I needed to challenge his rule. Another step closer. I back away, my mind racing, assessing the situation, looking for escape routes or defensive positions. And then you appeared. Cain spits the words like venom. You, with your disgraceful body and your common blood. And he chose you. Not a princess who could have brought alliances and power, not a beauty who could have dazzled the other packs into submission, but you. A fat nobody who has no business standing beside a king. His hand moves to the knife at his belt, and my breath catches. This is it. The moment Elder Moira warned me about. The test I must survive alone. You're going to have an accident, Cain says almost conversationally as he draws the blade. You're going to fall from the cliff back there, a tragic mishap during the ritual. Darian will be devastated, but he'll recover. He'll choose more appropriately next time. And I'll be there, guiding him, waiting for my moment. He lunges, and instinct takes over. I dodge to the side, feeling the blade whistle past my ribs. My grandmother's training, forgotten lessons from childhood about self-defense, dismissed at the time as unnecessary for someone like me, suddenly floods back into my consciousness. I am not as fast as he is, not as practiced in combat. But I am not helpless either. As Cain recovers from his misstrike and comes at me again, something awakens within me. The power that has been stirring since the moon spring suddenly surges to the surface, and the world seems to slow down. I can see his movements before he makes them, can read his intentions in the tension of his muscles, the shift of his weight. When he strikes, I'm already moving, letting his momentum carry him past me. When he spins to attack again, I'm ready, using his own force against him, sending him stumbling. You can't win, he snarls, frustration evident in every line of his body. You're weak.
Soft.
Unworthy. But even as he says it, doubt flickers in his eyes. Because I am not falling before him like he expected. I am not cowering or begging for mercy. I am standing my ground, and with each passing second, the power flowing through me grows stronger. You're wrong, I say, my voice resonating with authority I didn't know I possessed. My worth is not determined by your prejudices or your narrow view of what strength should look like. I am Darian's mate, chosen by fate itself. I am the future queen of this pack, and you will not stand in the way of that destiny. Cain charges at me with a roar of rage, all pretense of calculated assassination gone, replaced by pure fury. But I am ready. The power flowing through me coalesces into something tangible, and when I throw my hands up in an instinctive defensive gesture, light explodes from my palms. The blast catches Cain square in the chest and sends him flying backward. He hits a tree with a sickening crack and slides to the ground, his knife falling from nerveless fingers. I stand there, shocked, staring at my still glowing hands. This is new. This is beyond anything I knew I was capable of. The healing light I saw in the vision was one thing, but this is raw power, defensive magic that hasn't been seen in our kind for generations. Cain groans, struggling to rise, and I move quickly to kick his knife away. I stand over him, and for a moment, I see fear in his eyes. Genuine fear of what I might do, of the power I have just displayed. You will leave this pack, I tell him, my voice carrying the weight of command. You will go far from here and never return. If you stay, if you try this again, I will not be so merciful next time. And neither will Darian when he learns what you've done. He's my cousin, Cain gasps. My blood. He won't. He will, I interrupt. Because I am his mate, and an attack on me is an attack on him. You've lost, Cain. Accept it and go, while you still can with your life. For a long moment, we simply stare at each other. Then finally the fight goes out of him. He knows he's been beaten, knows that this is as close to mercy as he's going to get. This isn't over, he says, but the words lack conviction. Yes, I reply quietly. It is. I feel Darian approaching before I see him, the bond between us blazing with his alarm and his determination. He bursts into the clearing with several guards, his eyes wild until they find me standing unharmed. Then his gaze shifts to Cain, to the knife on the ground, and his expression hardens into something terrifying. Tell me what happened, he demands, his voice deadly calm. I do, leaving nothing out. As I speak, I watch the play of emotions across Darian's face: fury, betrayal, pain. Cain is his cousin, his blood, and this betrayal cuts deep. When I finish, Darian approaches Cain slowly, and every guard in the clearing tenses, ready for violence. You tried to murder my mate, Darian says, each word falling like a hammer blow. You violated sacred ritual. You betrayed your pack, your family, your king. Give me one reason I should not end your life right here, right now. She already did, Cain says, his voice hollow. She offered exile instead of death. I suggest you let her mercy stand. Darian looks at me, surprise evident in his eyes. I nod slightly, confirming that this is what I want. Not out of weakness, not out of fear, but because I understand now that true strength sometimes lies in restraint, in choosing the harder path of mercy over the easier one of vengeance. Very well, Darian says finally. You have until nightfall to gather what you can carry and leave. If you are still within our territory by dawn, my mate's mercy will be revoked, and my justice will be swift and final. Do you understand? Cain nods, struggling to his feet. He looks at me one last time, and I see something in his expression that might almost be respect beneath the hatred. You're stronger than I thought, he admits. Perhaps fate knew what it was doing after all. Then he is gone, limping away through the forest, and I am left standing in the clearing with my mate and the knowledge that I've passed a test far more significant than any ritual could have provided. Darian pulls me into his arms, holding me so tightly I can barely breathe, and I feel him trembling against me. I felt it, he whispers into my hair. Through the bond. Your fear, your power, your triumph. I have never been more terrified and more proud in my entire life. It's over, I murmur against his chest. The threat is gone. We can move forward now. Tell me what you did, he says, pulling back to look at me. Tell me about this power. So I show him, calling up the light that still hums beneath my skin. It responds to my will now, glowing softly from my palms, a testament to abilities I am only beginning to understand. The prophecy. Elder Moira's voice comes from behind us. I hadn't noticed her arrival, but she stands at the edge of the clearing now, her ancient eyes bright with knowledge. The white healer, it called you. The one who would wield the light that has been lost to our people for centuries. The one who would stand beside the Black Wolf and unite what has been divided. I don't understand, I say. What prophecy? Moira smiles. Come, child. It is time you learned about the destiny you were born to fulfill. We return to the hall, and Elder Moira leads us to the oldest section of the keep, to a room I have never seen before. The walls are covered in faded murals, depicting scenes from our people's ancient history. At the far end of the room stands a stone tablet, its surface carved with symbols in a language predating our current written forms. This, Moira says, gesturing to the tablet, is the prophecy of the dual moon, given to our ancestors when the world was young and our people first learned to shift between human and wolf. She begins to translate, her voice taking on the cadence of ritual as she speaks words that have been preserved for millennia. In the time of greatest division, when pack turns against pack and prejudice hardens hearts like stone, two shall come who will change all. The Black Wolf, mighty in battle, strong in body, lonely in spirit, shall rule with justice, but without joy. The white healer, whose light was thought lost, shall emerge from shadow, bearing the marks of rejection but carrying within her the power to mend what is broken. When these two meet, when fate binds them despite all logic and expectation, the old order shall tremble. For they shall be challenged, tested, pushed to the breaking point by those who fear change. But if they stand together, if they trust in the bond that transcends physical form, they shall usher in an age of unity. The black and the white, the warrior and the healer, the strong and the gentle, when these pairs become one, the ancient magic shall return. What was divided shall be made whole. What was broken shall be repaired. And all the packs shall be united under a rule of balanced power, where worth is measured by the heart and not by the standards of those who see only the surface. The words settle over us like a mantle, heavy with the weight of destiny. I find I am trembling, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what Moira is telling us. "You're saying," I whisper, "that our coming together was predetermined? That we're part of some grand design?" "Not predetermined," Moira corrects gently. "Prophesied. There is a difference. The prophecies spoke of the possibility, but you both had to choose it. Darian could have ignored the pull of the mate bond, could have chosen someone more conventional. You could have refused his hand, could have let fear and self-doubt override your courage. The prophecy gave you the opportunity, but you made it real through your choices." Darian pulls me close, and I lean into his strength, trying to process everything I've learned. "What does it mean going forward?" he asks. "What are we meant to do?" "What you've already begun," Moira replies. "Unite the packs. Break down the barriers of prejudice that keep us divided. Show our people that strength comes in many forms, that beauty is not confined to a single standard, that worth is found in character, not appearance. You are the living embodiment of that truth, a powerful king who chose not the most obviously beautiful mate, but the one his soul recognized as its perfect complement." She turns her gaze to me specifically. "And you, child, must learn to wield the power you've discovered. The healing light is the first manifestation, the defensive blast the second. There will be more as you grow into your role. You are the first white healer in 5 generations, and the magic that flows through you is ancient and powerful. It will be needed in the days to come." "Why?" I ask. "What's coming?" Moira's expression grows grave. "Change never comes without resistance. By uniting the packs, by challenging the old prejudices, you will make enemies beyond these walls. There are those who profit from division, who thrive on the fear and hatred that keeps our people separated. They will not give up their power easily. Wars will be fought, not just with claws and teeth, but with words and politics and schemes. You must be ready." The final ritual, the actual mating ceremony, is scheduled for the next full moon. It is the most sacred of all our rites, the moment when 2 souls are permanently bound together in a way that transcends even death. The ceremony has been performed the same way for thousands of years, and every member of both packs will be in attendance to witness it. The intervening days pass in a flurry of preparation. Darian and I spend every moment we can together, growing closer, learning each other, strengthening the bond that already connects us. He teaches me about leadership, about the weight of making decisions that affect thousands of lives. I teach him about healing, about the importance of understanding the hearts of those he leads, not just their physical needs. We are becoming partners in the truest sense of the word, not just romantically bonded, but intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually aligned. When we speak to the council together, we present a unified front that no one can challenge. When we walk through the pack lands, we are greeted with growing warmth and acceptance. My body has not changed. I am still fat, still soft, still occupying more space than conventional beauty standards allow. But the way people look at me has changed. They see me standing beside their king with confidence and power. They see me wielding magic thought lost to our kind, and they begin to question their own assumptions about what a queen should be. Not everyone accepts it easily. There are still whispers, still pockets of resistance. But Elder Moira's endorsement, combined with my display of power against Cain, has shifted the majority opinion in my favor. The night before the ceremony, I find myself unable to sleep. I slip from our chambers and make my way to the garden, seeking the quiet and solitude to process everything that has happened. I find Darian already there, standing beneath the full moon, its silver light making him look almost ethereal. "Couldn't sleep either?" I ask softly. He turns to me with a smile. "Too much on my mind. Tomorrow, we complete what fate began when I first caught your scent in that hall." I move to stand beside him, and he wraps his arm around me, pulling me close against his side. "Are you afraid?" I ask. "Terrified," he admits. "Not of the ceremony itself, but of failing you, of being unable to protect you from the challenges that are coming." of proving unworthy of the gift fate has given me in you. I turn to face him fully, placing my hands on his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart beneath my palms. You could never be unworthy, I tell him. You chose me when every voice of logic and convention told you not to. You defended me against your own cousin. You have given me the space to find my power and the support to grow into my role. If anything, I am the one who should fear failing you. Then we'll just have to make sure we don't fail each other, he says, leaning down to rest his forehead against mine. We'll face whatever comes together, as we have from the beginning. Together, I agree. We stand there for a long time, wrapped in each other's arms beneath the moon that will tomorrow witness our permanent bonding. And despite all the fears and uncertainties that await us, I feel a peace settle over me. This is right. This is where I belong. This is the destiny I was born for, and I am ready to claim it. The ceremony hall has been transformed into something magical. Thousands of candles line every surface, their flickering light creating patterns of shadow and illumination that seem to dance with a life of their own. The walls are hung with tapestries depicting the history of our people, a visual reminder that we are part of something larger than ourselves, a story that stretches back through countless generations and will continue long after we are gone. I stand in the preparation chamber, surrounded by women who have become my attendants and advisors. My mother is there, tears streaming down her face as she helps me into the ceremonial gown. It is beautiful, white as fresh snow, embroidered with silver thread and patterns that echo the phases of the moon. Unlike the dress I wore for the bride ceremony, this one was made specifically for me, fitted to my body without judgment or the expectation that I should be smaller. You are so beautiful, my mother whispers, and for the first time in my life, I hear no reservation in her voice, no unspoken wish that I looked different. So strong. I am sorry for all the years I let my fear guide my words. I should have told you every day how precious you are, how perfect. You're telling me now, I say, pulling her into an embrace. That's what matters. Elder Moira enters, carrying a circlet of silver adorned with moonstones. It is the ceremonial crown that every queen wears during the mating ritual, a symbol of the power and responsibility being accepted. Are you ready, child? She asks. I take a deep breath, centering myself, calling upon the power that now flows through me like a second heartbeat. Yes, I say. I'm ready. The walk to the ceremony hall feels both eternal and instantaneous. The doors open before me, and I see the assembled multitude, both packs gathered together, hundreds of faces turned toward me with expressions ranging from joy to curiosity to lingering skepticism. And at the far end of the hall, standing before the altar where the sacred fire burns, is Darian. He is magnificent in his ceremonial garb, every inch the powerful king he is. But when his eyes find mine, when I see the love and pride and absolute certainty in his gaze, all the grandeur of the setting fades away. There is only him, only us, only this moment that will bind us together for all time. I walk toward him, and with each step, I feel my confidence growing. I am not walking to meet my king as a supplicant or a lesser being hoping for acceptance. I am walking as his equal, as the other half of a whole that will reshape our world. When I reach him, he takes my hands in his, and the bond between us blazes with intensity that makes us both gasp. Elder Moira begins the ancient words of the ceremony, but I barely hear them. All my focus is on Darian, on the connection we share, on the future we are about to claim together. Do you, Darian, King of the Forest Pack, take this woman, Amara of the Mountain Pack, as your true mate? Do you pledge to stand beside her in all things, to honor her wisdom, to protect her heart, to share with her your strength and receive from her the same? Do you accept her as your equal in all ways, bound to you not by law or duty, but by the eternal connection of souls? I do, Darian says, his voice strong and unwavering. Before all witnesses, before the spirits themselves, I claim Amara as mine and give myself to her in return. And do you, Amara, accept this bond? Do you take Darian as your mate, pledging to stand beside him, to offer your wisdom and accept his protection, to be his strength when he falters and his comfort when he sorrows? Do you accept the crown and the burden of leadership, knowing that you will be challenged, tested, and called upon to be more than you ever thought possible? I look into Darian's eyes, seeing our shared future reflected there. All the challenges and triumphs, the love and partnership, the world we will build together. I do. I say clearly. I accept Darian as my mate, my partner, my king. I accept the responsibility of being queen, of using my power to heal and protect, of standing as proof that worth is not determined by appearance, but by character. I pledge myself to this bond, to this pact, to this future we will create together. Elder Moira produces a ceremonial blade, ancient and sacred. Darian and I each make a small cut on our palms, then join our hands, allowing our blood to mingle. The symbolism is profound, two becoming one, separate identities merging into a partnership that is stronger than either could be alone. The moment our blood touches, power explodes through the hall. My healing light erupts from our joined hands, and Darian's own power, dark and strong and protective, rises to meet it. The two energies twine together, black and white creating perfect balance, and the assembled crowd gasps as they witness magic that has not been seen in generations. The sacred fire on the altar suddenly blazes higher, burning with both dark and light flames intertwined. And in that fire, visible to everyone present, images begin to form, visions of the future we are creating. They see Pax united, see old prejudices crumbling, see a world where diversity is celebrated rather than condemned. They see me, not as the fat girl who didn't belong, but as the white healer of prophecy, powerful and confident and worthy of the crown I wear. They see Darian, not as a king diminished by an unconventional choice, but as a ruler strengthened by having a true partner beside him. And they see both of us together, building something new, something better, something that will change our world forever. When the vision fades, when the fire returns to its normal state, absolute silence fills the hall. Then, slowly at first but building to a roar, the assembled packs begin to cheer. They are witnessing history, witnessing the fulfillment of ancient prophecy, and even those who had doubted can no longer deny what is plainly before their eyes. Elder Moira's voice rings out, filled with joy and triumph. I present to you King Darian and Queen Amara, true mates blessed by the spirits, united in blood and power and purpose. May their rule be long and just. May their partnership be the foundation of a new age. May all who see them remember that true strength is found not in conformity, but in the courage to be authentically oneself. Darian turns to me, and the smile on his face is radiant with joy. He cups my face in his hands, and when he kisses me, it is not just a kiss of love or passion, though both are present. It is a kiss of recognition, of two souls acknowledging the profound rightness of their union. When we finally pull apart, he whispers against my lips, "My queen, my mate, my equal in all things." "My king," I whisper back, "my partner, my heart." We turn to face our people together, hands joined, crowned and powerful and ready to face whatever the future holds. The cheering continues, and I realize with wonder that it is genuine, that we have won them over not through political maneuvering or strategic alliances, but simply by being exactly who we are and refusing to apologize for it. The celebration continues late into the night, but eventually, Darian and I are able to slip away to our private chambers. The moment the door closes behind us, the formal masks we've been wearing all evening fall away, and we are simply Amara and Darian again, two people who found each other against all odds and chose to build something beautiful together. "How does it feel?" he asks, pulling me into his arms. "Being queen?" I consider the question seriously, taking stock of the changes within me, the growth I've experienced in such a short time. "It feels right," I say finally. Terrifying and overwhelming and impossibly huge, but right. Like I've finally found the role I was always meant to play. "You are going to be an extraordinary queen," Darian says with absolute conviction. Already you have changed this pack in ways I never could have alone. You make me better, Amara. You make everything better. We make each other better, I correct. That's the point of being true mates, isn't it? Not to complete each other, as if we were incomplete alone, but to complement each other, to bring out strengths the other didn't know they possessed. He laughs, the sound warm and full of affection. You see? Already wiser than me. We move to the window, looking out over the pack lands that are now ours to protect and guide. In the distance, I can see members of both packs mingling freely, the barriers between them already beginning to dissolve. It is a small thing, perhaps, but it is a beginning. What do you think comes next? I ask. More challenges, Darian says honestly. News of our union will spread to the other packs, and not all of them will view it favorably. There will be those who see our rejection of conventional standards as a threat, who will try to use it against us. We will need to be strong, united, unshakable in our commitment to each other and to the vision we're building. I'm not afraid, I say, and I realize it's true. The girl who stood nervously in line at the bride ceremony, terrified of judgment and rejection, feels like a distant memory. I am not that girl anymore. I am Queen Amara, the White Healer, true mate to the king, and I will not apologize for my existence or diminish myself to make others comfortable. Neither am I, Darian says. Not when I have you beside me. We stand there together, looking out at our kingdom, at the future we are building, at the dawn of a new age. And though I know there will be struggles ahead, though I understand that changing a world takes more than one ceremony or one prophesied union, I also know that we have started something powerful tonight. We have proven that love transcends appearance, that strength comes in many forms, that true worth is measured by character rather than conformity. We have shown our people that it is possible to honor tradition while also embracing change, to respect the past while building a better future. And most importantly, we have demonstrated that two souls who truly belong together will recognize each other regardless of what society says they should be. The Black Wolf and the White Healer. The warrior and the healer. The strong and the gentle. Together, we are whole. Together, we will change the world. As the first light of dawn breaks over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, Darian takes my hand and brings it to his lips.
Thank you, he says softly.
For what? For being brave enough to take my hand that first night. For seeing past your own fears and doubts to claim what was yours. For being exactly who you are, without apology or compromise. For choosing me as I chose you. I turned to face him fully, this magnificent male who saw me when others looked right through me, who claimed me as his mate when the entire world expected him to choose differently. I think, I say, pulling him close, that we both chose each other. And we will continue choosing each other, every day, for the rest of our lives. Every day, he agrees, sealing the promise with a kiss. And as we stand there together, king and queen, mates and partners, the sun rises on the first day of our new world, a world where true love conquers prejudice, where inner strength shines brighter than outward beauty, where two souls who were always meant to be together have finally found their way home. This is only the beginning of our story, but it is a beginning worth celebrating. For in choosing each other, in defying convention and claiming our destiny, we have lit a flame that will illuminate the path for others who have been told they are less than, who have been made to feel unworthy, who have been rejected for not fitting into narrow definitions of acceptable. We are proof that the heart knows what the eyes cannot see, that worth is inherent and not earned, that love, true love, recognizes no boundaries and respects no artificial standards. We are the Black Wolf and the White Healer, united at last. And together, we will change everything. Do you believe in the power of true mates, beyond what the world expects? If you were Eliza, would you have accepted the king's choice, or would you have rejected it? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible stories of unexpected love, power, and destiny. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a twist in the next chapter of Eliza and Damon's journey.